is time. It is time to brew your best beer.
The 2019 SJ Porr Challenge Gold sponsors. A special thanks to double gold sponsor Bouncer, keeping the dregs out with an inline filter for homebrewers. BrewTubers Online Brewers Club, forums, recipes, and news updates, and more. Yakima Valley Hops, fresh from the source to your kettle. Omega Yeast Labs, fresh, healthy, unique yeast. Jaded Brewing, home of the fastest immersion wort chiller, the Hydra. Kempfo's 2001 CTSP Pink, the world's favorite chlorinated homebrew cleaner with a unique pink color indicator. And our silver sponsor, the Brew Bag, simply the easiest way to brew great beers at home.
What's going on, guys? Nick Lesagor here, Exit 12 Brewery, in the house, in the basement, in the brewery of Exit 12 Brewery. As you can probably see behind me, there is the Robo Brew. It's not quite done yet, meaning the basement brewery. We're pretty close to finishing everything. But in the meantime, we're gonna have a beer, and it's the SJ Porr Challenge. So we're gonna have a beer from the SJ Porr Challenge. I will be doing all of my reviews for the first round in the Exit 12 Brewery tulip glass that I gave to my groomsmen for my wedding. And I got myself one as well. So here we go. This beer is ID number X35-RD1-82P as in Paulie. It is a 6.5% New England IPA. And New England IPAs are fascinating for competitions for a few reasons. And one of them is because the hops, you pretty much have to drink them fairly quickly or else they can fall off. There's a nice hiss from this. I'm really excited to try it. I don't know what hops are in it because it's against the rules to list ingredients, but I do know it's a New England IPA. So all the kids will be going into the pool because we really want to see that haziness. Looks like a decent amount of carbonation, a little bit less than a quarter finger head. It's fairly darker than what a normal New England IPA would look like. I don't know if the light kind of shows that off. It's probably a little bit lighter than maybe a copper. I don't know. It may be a tiny bit on the browner side. Let's try to rustle up some bubbles here. Oop. Party foul. Let's get a nose on this. Let's smell it. Ooh, that's fun. All right, I get some pineapple. Very interesting. Really got a nice sweetness, possibly from the malt bill. I don't know what malt they used, obviously, but it smells fairly sweet. Maybe some overripe cantaloupe. I could see that. So definitely some of the more tropical fruits. But it definitely smells good. Maybe a tad Tangelo. It's got that sweetness of like a Tangelo, which I find to be a lot more sweeter than like a regular orange. In terms of a New England IPA, if we could just go back to the look, the haziness, not quite what I was looking for in terms of a New England. I think it should be a little more dank, kind of opaque looking. Putting my finger up, I obviously can't see my finger, but it should have kind of that thick, not milk, like almost thick looking like milkshake almost. And the color, it could probably be a little bit lighter. But it's a little on the dark side. But let's see how this tastes. Let's get into it. Cheers. Okay. That's fun. That's really fun. It's got a nice, I really enjoy the bitterness on it. I think For a New England IPA, you're right in that range of the bitterness, which is nice. I definitely can get some of those orangey kind of fruit. So it has some decently bright fruit flavors for sure. Try to see if we can. The carbonation is probably a little bit on the high side. It could probably be a little bit less carbonated, but I'm not sure that it detracts from it all that much. Without spilling it here, let's see if we can. Yeah, it's definitely carbonated. Not really. It's got a little bit of legs, not much, but a little bit. But you can definitely tell the bubbles are rising up very quick. It's very carbonated. I will say, it's probably pretty oxidated. You get kind of that wet cardboardy flavor on it. I obviously don't know how it was bottled, if it was bottled from the keg or if it was bottled using like a generic old school bottling bucket. I think the bitterness is really nice on it. I think you get some of those fruit flavors. They don't come out quite as nice or quite like I would expect from a New England. But I think the oxidation kind of takes over a little bit. And I could be wrong on the oxidation, but that's just how it looks and that's how it kind of tastes. It's pretty cold. I think the bitterness is really, really pleasant. I'd be very intrigued to see what this person used for a bittering hop, because I really think it does the job in terms of the bitterness. It's a really nice bitterness. I'm going to take some time with this, kind of let it warm up a little bit, sit back and relax, and I'll be back with a couple of more comments. All right, we're back. I was able to sit with it for a little bit and kind of drink it as it warmed. As you can tell, I certainly didn't suffer through it. It's a nice beer. It's a nice beer. As it warmed, I think the bitterness on some level kind of took over a little bit in terms of the flavor. I do think it's a nice bitterness. I don't know if maybe you used a Centennial or maybe you went a little off kilter and used like a Warrior, something to that effect. But I do think while the bitterness is pleasant, I don't get a whole lot of fruit flavors, you know, those really tropical flavors that you would get from a New England IPA as it warms. With that said, again, I'm drinking through it. I think it's a well-crafted homebrew. I think I don't get any type of off flavor from fermentation. I think the fermentation was on point. There may be, again, some mild, very, very mild oxidation, and that could be through shipping. It could be through however you bottled. Excuse me. I'm not 100% sure. It might not be there at all. I did hold it up to the light, and it did have a nice kind of golden orange. Again, not necessarily to style for New England, but again, the oxidation may be very mild or might not be there at all. I know that I'm not as sensitive to oxidation as others, so if I tasted it, it may be there a little bit more so than people that are more sensitive to it. But regardless, I do think it's a good beer. I'm definitely going to be finishing this glass here. And overall, I think it's a well-crafted beer. Maybe some things could change in terms of the packaging. It's always tough. As I mentioned, New England IPAs are very tough to brew in competitions where you're shipping beer, because you just don't know how the shipping conditions are going to react, how the beer is going to react to the shipping conditions. Whether the beer was sitting in a truck over the weekend, in a warehouse, 100-degree temperatures, you don't really know. But this beer is definitely a good one, and I'm enjoying it. So until the next beer review for the SJ Porr Challenge, cheers.